I want to kind of offer a viewpoint from Iranians who are there in Iran.
Of course.
After the massacre, tens of thousands being killed over 2 nights, which is like it's far beyond what we thought the regime is capable of.
Yeah.
A lot of them say we are alive, but we are absolutely dead inside.
Oh Lord!
You know, all my contacts are in the same. So it's a very, very heavy trauma in the public, and I think I'm very, very big critic of Trump in many ways, and I think that's the only lifeline that Iranian society can see now for them. So I think that's the only glimmer of hope that they have.
What would I mean? I choose my words carefully, because there are instances throughout history of hideous regimes being overcome from within, when the sheer weight of numbers and of protest breaches the barricades, overcomes. I mean, I know it didn't end well, but Egypt most recently probably is an example, or the Arab Spring. Why can't that happen in Iran? Because I sense that if it was going to, then it would have done.
Right. Something about Iran is very different from some of the other regimes there.
Yes.
Is that the crackdown system is so carefully designed, is so carefully trained, is so sophisticated that it is so capable of...
So more like Syria then, more like Syria, but that was...
Very, very similar to Syria.
Okay.
And Syria was very much... Assad could sustain power because of Iran and because of the system
Russia.
that Iran was supporting, and Russia, of course. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So it is this way or no way, and that means, in a way, my enemy's enemy is my friend. I mean, you know, Donald Trump might be is all of the things that we describe him as, but there is nobody else with the will or the wherewithal, for whatever reason, even if he's doing it out of the most pure and naked self-interest. If you were to take a utilitarian approach to the welfare of the Iranian population, then you'd have to want him to do what he is, today at least, minded to do.
Yes, absolutely. And I am kind of a critic of Donald Trump.
Of course.
But many of my friends don't share the same. So a lot of people are really his fan. I mean, there are fractions in Iranian society who praise Donald Trump in general.
Well, there are factions in Iranian society who praise the Ayatollahs. I think 20% in the last opinion poll, and this was before the current carnage, were comfortable or supportive of the status quo. So that's the other problem that we've got is the lessons learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, and societal differences notwithstanding. Syria, it'd be ridiculous to expect it to be a model of liberal democracy already, but it's got a heck of a lot of problems. What happens afterwards? What happens after Trump topples the Ayatollah, if indeed that happens? Which, I mean, I want to rain on your parade. I doubt. I think if an attack is all he needs for the next round of headlines, which is all he cares about. Regime change doesn't give him anything. Therefore, I don't think he'll actually go about regime change. But let's say that he did. What happens next?
Well, it seems to me that there are, from my point of view, I think Iranian society, from what I see, is capable enough to take the agency and decide what they want. But broadly, what I believe it will happen afterwards, if people are given the chance, is a move towards a liberal democracy. Now, what form it will take, secular, democracy, so what form it takes, I don't know, but that's the overwhelming sense that I have from people. And I think Trump is there are elements of self-interest, but over the last 2 weeks, I think there are also signs that some of the moves that he's doing is carefully planned. So talking with the nations in the region, thinking about the military logistics. We know the Abraham Lincoln ship was being kind of sent not last couple of days, but from almost 10 to 12 days ago, it was on the way. So it sees a lot of it's not only him, but people around him are giving him some sort of good intelligence, I think.
I would just like to say that the people of Iran know very clearly what it is that they want. They understand the cost that is involved in asking for foreign intervention and the results that it will yield. And I think it is the job of every democratic country and leader to understand that and respect it. I think in the West we have the luxury of existing and living in democratic societies. So it's a privilege to be able to nitpick at someone's policies and other things like that, because we are not being shot at with war-grade bullets when we leave our homes. We have
who's nitpicking policies? What are you referring to there?
Sorry, I meant as in his like internal policies that we might not necessarily agree with. I think the people of Iran...
I'm talking about civilians being murdered on the streets of Minneapolis and civilians being murdered on the street of Tehran, and I wouldn't be comfortable with anybody describing objections to either of those things as nitpicking.
Yeah, no, I just meant I've had other Iranians, not in relation to that, but I've had other Iranians talk about his policies around like abortion and other things like that. That's the part I was referring to. I think what's really important to recognise is that the people of Iran are being killed in their masses. We've had reports of human rights organisations very clearly stating that over 30,000 people, including children as young as 3, being shot at. I know a family friend of mine whose daughter was shot at the age of 8 for simply chanting and protesting on their balcony. So whilst I don't deny that what is happening in those parts of America are wrong, I think the situation in Iran is highly critical. It's almost like saying, my house is being burglarized, I'm being beaten up on the side of the street, someone is willing to come and help. Let me just pause.
I don't care who that person is.
Exactly that.
See, there's an ineluctable logic to what you're saying, but what if that person is the least trustworthy person in town?
I think that what's also important to recognise is that during the Obama...
Just have a crack at my question, if you would. What if that person is the least trustworthy person in town? What if that person has never kept a promise?
Being beaten up and violently shot at, I don't have the luxury of taking a step back and thinking, is this person trustworthy? I think what is also important to take note of is that the people of Iran during the Obama administration and the Biden administration did try to reach out. And what those two administrations did was they handed over billions of dollars to the Ayatollahs, who further funded their terror proxies on a global scale, causing mass deaths on a global scale, as well as further brutalizing and murdering thousands of Iranians inside Iran. So it's not that they haven't tried other avenues. It's not that they haven't tried to do things organically. Yeah. We also, whilst I agree that not all of the Trump administration policies and actions are, they're not 100% great, not everything.
So you're doing that thing again. They are hideous. They're not just not 100% great. They are killing civilian protesters. They are lying about everything from election results to the attack yesterday on Ilhan Omar. They have been talking about... I mean, I'm really uncomfortable with a couple of the things that you're saying, like nitpicking and not 100%. And maybe you need to do that to justify your full-throated support for them intervening. You kind of don't want to look too hard at the person who's rescuing you from being beaten up. What if they're a rapist?
When we had some of the attacks...
That's a pertinent point. What if the person who's rescuing you from being beaten up is a rapist? To continue your analogy.
If I'm violently attacked, I don't have the logic or the luxury.
Well, I think you're right. I get it. But let's not say that the rapist is not 100% nice or not nitpicking with his criminal record.
I personally believe that there is good and bad in every human. And I do believe that whilst all of his actions and policies are not great, some of them...
Yeah, we could say that about the Ayatollahs, could you?
No, absolutely not.
Hang on, you just said I believe that there is good and bad in everyone, and some of his policies aren't great.
But as far as the Iranians are concerned, the Ayatollahs and the regime have never served the Iranians. There is a very small
20% of the population are still supportive. I agree with you, by the way. I'm just interrogating your arguments, and I'm unhappy with.
Absolutely fine.
I'm unhappy with nitpicking and not 100% supporting.
For offending you or any of your listeners. That wasn't my intention at all.
But I suppose what I'm pushing you towards, Bita, is it absolutely doesn't matter. Even if he was a war criminal, even if it was Vladimir Putin threatening to topple the Ayatollahs, you'd be there for it.
And I think
yes or no?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Yes or no?
If it was
Vladimir Putin.
Would I personally advocate for Vladimir Putin doing that? No, because Vladimir Putin hasn't had the the same sort of impact that Trump has. I do think that President Trump...
Well, that's your choice. We're talking about Trump being the only person that can do it, and we're imagining a world in which Vladimir Putin could, with his not 100% great record. So why would you not want Vladimir Putin to do it?
What I'm explaining to you is I haven't looked at the Vladimir Putin. You know, if he was the equivalent of Donald Trump, but he was called Vladimir Putin, then yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, and that I think is the point that we will struggle to fully accept unless we're Iranian. I literally don't care who does it, because it has to be done. And please God that the lessons of Afghanistan or Iraq are not relevant, because Iran is a different regime. Please God we won't be replacing the mullahs with the army, or we won't be seeing things get worse as a consequence of Donald Trump's intervention. I've only got one die, and it's Donald Trump's die, and therefore I'm going to roll it. And I think I agree with you, but I wouldn't trust Donald Trump as far as I can throw him. And we'll be sitting here in a month, and things will either have not changed at all, or they will have got worse. But the hope that they might get better is enough to propel the position that you very powerfully describe. Wow. And that may be it. That's it. It doesn't matter. Even if it was Putin, even if it was somebody who has done hideous things in other countries. Then Venezuela, he's kidnapped a president of a sovereign country on absolutely unproven charges of drug trafficking, while simultaneously releasing the president of another country who'd been convicted in an American court of drug trafficking. You see what I mean about how liberating it is once you recognise how hideous he is. But if I was Iranian and I was desperate to see the regime removed or massively curtailed, would I care how hideous he is? Or would I be like Bita and I'd have to either subconsciously or consciously minimise how hideous Donald Trump is in order to justify my support for what I want him to do? I think I would.
His word is worth nothing.
Yes, that's the point, isn't it? I was trying to make to Bita, is that, okay, I understand why you want to trust this man, but he is utterly and completely untrustworthy.
He was talking about going to Gaza for peace, but he was talking about making a Riviera there. He's not interested in people. Yeah, he's not interested in helping people. He's killing his own people. How is he going to help people in Iran? How is he going to take...
So how does it end then? How does the regime in Iran change?
I think it's people. I think if people realise there's nobody there other than themselves to actually, because that's what true revolutions are, is by people, for people, and have a leader and get organised. They're literally sitting there waiting for Shah's son, so removed from reality of Iran, to go and rule Iran. And even he's saying, look, I'm not going to go there and rule. I'm going to be a transitional.
But Ali made the point that the infrastructure in the country makes the prospect of successful insurrection almost impossible.
Well, I mean, I get that. It's very, very difficult for people.
What if it's the only escape route? The only viable escape route is the one that hideous grinning orange face is presiding over.
Do you know what my guess is?
No.
He's literally going to do a deal with the mullahs.
Yeah.
Not interested in
he'll do whatever is best for him. And what you're betting the house on, or what other earlier callers are betting everything on, is the hope that what is best for him will also be best for the Iranian people. And that is so optimistic that it's barely worth considering.
Didn't he threaten that as soon as the first executions happen, he's going to take his locked and loaded in?
And he promised the Iranian people he'd come and help them, and then he said it, and then he didn't. But here's the thing: the regime has killed an estimated 30,000 people. The next time people rise up against it, they will do that again and again and again and again. And without external help, I don't see it ever ending. And the only external help currently available has got Donald Trump's hideous paw prints all over it. So what do you do?
Yeah,
what do you do?
Yeah, but unfortunately, the price he will ask for, I think it'll be a heavy price.
There's a story yesterday, Marco Rubio before a Congress, about some Venezuelan oil that's been sold for, I think, $500 million, $500 million worth of Venezuelan oil. And under questioning in Congress, they revealed that $300 million has been given to the Venezuelan government. No one's quite sure what that means. It's not like they have a PayPal account or or an account. And where's the other $200 million? And he kind of let it go that it's in a bank account in Qatar or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, this is what I mean about the liberating nature of recognising the corruption. The idea that Donald Trump would help himself to Iranian oil is not even fanciful, because it's exactly what he's doing to Venezuelan oil, with $200 million currently missing from the stats.
Let's not forget, this is all about hiding the Epstein files.
Yeah, but that is true and not relevant at the same time. It's relevant and not relevant at the same time, because 30,000 people are dead. So I don't today care about whether or not this is distracting from the Epstein files. If the killing stops or the people response to it are brought to justice, then the Epstein files. Well, I'm going to stick with that helpless phrase: relevant and not relevant.
Well, his agenda then goes towards whether you're going to get a result out of this or not.
No, I know it does, and that's why I think, and I knew this was going to happen. That I feel my own position, for what it's worth, because it's meaningless in the greater scheme of things. I have no family there. It's not true to say that we don't have skin in the game, because the Iranian regime could, of course, respond by sponsoring terrorism. Then that could affect any of us, whether you're Iranian, British, or anything. Actually, terrorists are not choosy about who they kill in pursuit of their goals, but that absence of investment in it, immediate investment in it, means that I'm swinging back now. I'm kind of thinking, no, you can't, because it's Trump. You just can't trust him, even if it's the only escape route. But what do? You stay in prison. The only escape route you've got, the only tunnel you can go down, is going to be dug by Donald Trump. Now, I don't think he's going to dig it. I really don't. I don't think he's going to do anything to help the Iranian people when push really comes to shove, unless it serves his purposes, and that is going to be brief. But imagine that he did, and imagine that he was, and the only escape tunnel you've got has been dug by Donald Trump. Are you going to stay in jail? Are you going to stay sitting in jail, or are you actually going to take your chances? I don't know who else was suddenly thinking of the Shawshank Redemption then when I talked about an escape route dug by Donald Trump, but are you going to take your chances in the sewage pipe?
I would completely take my chances.
Yeah.
I completely disagree with the person before you.
Sure.
We have lots of Iranian people. By the way, I'm British Iranian as well.
Every caller today is, actually. I just to note that.
Yeah. It really frustrates me when you ask some Iranian people and they say they don't want Donald Trump, and you ask them, like you just did, what's the other option? They don't have another option.
They say it needs to come from within. It needs to be. Yeah.
That's not a real option. I think thousands, tens of thousands of people have died. Millions. We mean millions of people come on the streets in Iran, all across Iran, in villages, in towns, and empty-handed. How are you supposed to? I don't understand why it was okay to have foreign intervention for when the West needed it in the Second World War, when Japan needed it, but when it's the Iranian people, they have to go empty-handed and be slaughtered. There is absolutely no way. These people have done uprisings for years.
I mean, not to patronise you, but the obvious difference is that the Nazis were invading sovereign countries and the Allies were defending them from either actual or future potential invasion, whereas the Iranian regime was put in place by the Iranian people. So forgive me for being a bit nitpicking, a bit pernickety.
The Iranian people, I think a lot of people think there was a lot of intervention there.
Of course.
And, secondly,
but that's the point, isn't it? Is that it's there is intervention, and it just doesn't stand. The comparison with the Second World War doesn't really work. That's all I'm saying, and I'm sorry for saying
it doesn't to some extent, because I know what you mean, but in the way of how are you supposed to do it?
Exactly.
You had
without outside support.
Exactly. When you have weapons from other countries, they couldn't beat the Nazis like you did. How normal, empty-handed people are supposed to beat a brutal regime where they proved in the last few days that they will stop at nothing. They shot people in hospitals. They went in people's houses and shot them. there is no way you can stop that. So I think we need to stamp that out.
This is brilliant. And I feel my own position shifting, and I apologise for being so trivial, really, in the greater scheme of things when the stakes are so high. It
is so high. I don't think you quite realise how substantial, consequential, what an important position we're in at the moment.
I do. But and again, it makes me realise something. If I could somehow construct a magic computer and say that Donald Trump offers you a 1% chance of deliverance from the Ayatollahs, you'd still take it.
I would take it.
Yeah, that's the point.
I tell you what some people, Iranian people, think. It's not, when you said you use an example of a rapist, yeah? I would take it. And I tell you why. A rapist is going to harm, 10, 20 rape people, yeah? It's not just about the tens of thousands of people that are being killed now. It's about the generations to come. Young people are going on the streets and they're saying, I don't care about me. I care about the next generation. Yeah. It's not just 1 year, 2 years. It's tens and tens of years. Iran is a very proud country with about 3,000 years of history. We want to look ahead, and we're thinking, okay, we'll die now, but for tomorrow we'll have a better generation. And one other point I want to put, of course I agree about Donald Trump. You know, we all know what he's like, and we all know he's going to look at his interests. Fine. The thing is, I think you underestimate how important Iran is in geopolitically. It is not in America's interest to have another Libya sat in Iran. I think they would have learned more lessons. Iran has, just to give your lessons about the population, Iran, contrary to what they put out, is actually very secular. Only about 10% of the population are actually extremely religious. And let's say about 10%, 15% are backing this. Some are brainwashed or whatever, and they're fanatical religious, and they think that it's their purpose to go and kill people because they're not following Islam, yeah? But then there's also a mafia, and so it's financial interest, yeah? But the other 80% are educated young people, and they want to live normal life, and they're very hungry for Western civilization. So you can't compare. And the other thing I wanted to say, when you compare with
You're
Libya,
making me very late for the news, but I'm not going to stop you. I'll deal with all the issues.
I want to compare with Libya and stuff. In Libya, people didn't come out in millions. It's disrespectful to people to say, it was Trump that started the rising. It wasn't. It was people started the uprising. Trump motivated them. The other last point I want to make is it is a massive investment opportunity for Donald Trump. Not just the oil, and it's other investments like cars and also other things. And I think, believe it or not, I think he sees it as a good financial interest.
Well, but you mean believe it or not? If he sees it as anything, that would be top of the list. It would be, number one, distracts attention from the fact that I am rapidly looking like a pound shop Ayatollah at home, and number two, there'd be some money in it for me, and therefore, my initial reaction is to think don't go near him with a barge pole. But then, as you and Bita, if you didn't understand Sarah's reference to a rapist, it's an analogy under which you're being beaten up, and the only person that can rescue you is a rapist. But of course, there's an ineluctable logic to taking whatever help you can get.